I still remember the morning my own son looked at me and said, Dad, maybe it's time for you to live somewhere else. Not in anger, not even loudly. And somehow that made it hurt even more. I stood there in his perfect kitchen holding a cold cup of coffee while the house stayed completely silent. The kind of silence that tells you something ended before anyone said goodbye. I did not argue. I just nodded slowly and walked upstairs to the tiny guest room I had been sleeping in for the last 7 months. But what happened 3 days later, that changed everything. And honestly, I think it shocked my son more than it shocked me. My name is Daniel Brooks. I am 65 years old. Most of my life I worked with my hands. I owned a small hardware store in Austin Creek, Ohio for over 30 years. It was not a fancy business, but people trusted me. If something broke in town, chances are my store helped to fix it. My wife Melissa used to run the front counter while I handled deliveries and repairs. We built that life together, and for a long time it was enough. Then cancer took her away. Emma knows saying those words feelings strange. When Melissa got sick, nothing else mattered anymore. I sold equipments, emptied savings, and spent nights sleeping in hospital chairs just to stay beside her. I would not spend every dollars I had if I made one more years with her. But life does not work that way. After she passed, the store stopped feeling lives. Customers still came in, but the buildings felt empty without her voice. That's when my son Athens called. That he said you should not be able alone anymore. Sell the store and come stay with us in Cortals. At the times, it sounded like love. That was my mistake. I sold the business for less than it was worth because Ethan said he know buyers who could help me move quickly. I trusted him. He was my son. After the sale, I moved into his beautiful two-story house in a neighborhood where every lawn looked exactly the same. At first, everything seemed fine. His wife, Collie, smiled politely. The grandkids were sweet. They gave me a small room upstairs with a narrow bed and a tiny window facing the neighbor's wall. I told myself it did not matter. I was just grateful not to be alone. But slowly things changed. Little things first. Collie did not like when I cooked because the kitchen smelled too heavy. She did not like when I fixed things around the house without asking. One afternoon, I repaired their leaking bathroom sink, and Athens looked at me and said, You really did not need to do that. Not thank you, not appreciations, just discomforts. That was the first time I felt like a guest instead of family. And then came the money conversations. One Sunday mornings, Cole placed the papers in front of me showing monthly household expenses, utilities, groceries, internets. At the bottoms was highlighted numbers. $1,500. She called it me fair share. I paid it every month. Then Athens suggested I should also hand over my retirement check to help the house hold more. And somehow I did that too. You know what's strange? When you love your family, you keep convincing yourself things are normals. Emmons, when you hurt, knows they are not. That winters become the loneliest season of my life. My days I left the house early just so I would not feel in the way. I started spending hours at the public library downtowns. That's where I met Elvins. She works there part times, shelving books. Quiet woman's kind eyes. She noticed me sitting alone almost every day. You always read the history sections, she said once with a smile. I laughed softly. History makes more sense the people sometimes. She did not ask question after that, but little by little she understood anyway. Sometimes she had bring me coffee. Sometimes she had leave a magazine beside my chairs that she thought I did enjoy, and somehow that tiny kindness started saving me because at home I felt invisible, especially after I overheard Kohli one night I was upstairs reading when I heard her downstairs talking to Athens. He always here, she whispered sharply. I cannot relax in my own house anymore. Then came the sentence I still cannot forget. I feel like your father is watching us all the times. I sat frozen on the edge of my bed. I had never felt so unwanted in my entire life. That night I walked to a gas station in the freezing cold just to get out of the house. And shifting there alone with cheap coffee in my hands, I finally realized something painful. My son did not invite me there because he missed me. He invited me because he thought I was becoming a responsibility he could manage. But the worst part, that conversation was not even the things that broke me. What Athens said 2 months later, that's the moment I know I had already lost the home I thought I still had. It happened on a Tuesday evenings. Athens came home early from work and asked if we could talk. The second I saw his face, I know. People think heartbreaks always arrives loudly. Sometimes it walks into the kitchen wearing a calm expression. I sat down across from him while he stood standing near the counters. Dad, he said carefully, this living situation is not really working anymore. Those words hit harder than shouting ever could. I started talking about senior communities and independent living spaces, like he had participated the speech before saying it. Then he said something that still echoes in my head. You have savings. Maybe it's time to find your own place. Your own place. After everything, Militia and I sacrificed for him. After the years I spent building a future for my family, I had somehow become temporary. I looked at my son for a long moment, and suddenly I felt tired, not angry, just tired. So I quietly said, "Okay." That surprised him. I think he expected a fight, but something inside me had already gone silent. That night, while everyone slept, I sat alone holding a cup of photo militias, and for the first time in months, I thought clearly. I still had some savings left, not much, but enough to start over. And then I remembered someone I had not spoke to in years, Marcus Hawley, my old construction partner from decades ago. A week earlier, he had called out of nowhere after hearing about militia. Before hanging up, he said something simple. If you ever need a place, brothers, call me. At the time, I thanked him politely. No, those words came back like a lifeline. The next morning, I called him. I told him everything. There was a silence for a few seconds. Then Marcus said, pack your bags. I am coming Fridays. No pity, no judgment, just certainly. 3 days later, I carried my old duffel bags downstairs while Ethan stood waiting in the kitchen. He looked nervous now, like really had arrived too fast. Then a black pickup truck pulled into the driveway. Marcus stepped out looking older, grayer, but still solid as a rock. He walked straight inside, grabbed my boxes, and smiled at me, ready to go. And in the moment, for the first time in nearly a years, I truly was. Ethan followed me outside. That wait. His voice cracked a little. That almost broke me because for 1 second I heard the little boy he used to be, the boy I taught how to ride a bike, the boy who used to sit beside me in the hardware stores after school. But people grow older and sometimes they grow away from you too. I put my hands on his shoulders. I love you, Athens, I told him quietly. But love should never feel like permissions to exist in someone's house. He started crying then. Real crying, not excuses, not pride, not just greed. I hugged him once, then walked away. The driver to Tennessee took almost 6 hours, and honestly, somewhere along that road, I finally started breathing again. Marcus lived in a quiet farmhouse outside Franklin, surrounded by trees and open lands. He gave me my own rooms, my own workshops, my own peace. No one made me feel unwanted there. No one counted what I ate. No one acted uncomfortable when I entered the kitchens, and slowly I started feeling like myself again. A few weeks later, Ethan called and apologized. This time I believed him. not because his words were perfect, but because pain had finally taught him something comfort never could. We are still repairing our relationship title little by little. Some things heal slowly, but they do heal. And if there's one thing I have learned throughout all this, it's this: growing old should never mean becoming invisible. Every person deserves a place where they feel wanted, a people where their presence is a gift, not a burden. And maybe that's why I am telling you this story today, because somewhere out there, someone listening feels exactly the way I once felt, alone in a crowded house, forgotten by people they once gave everything to. If that person is you, please remember this: your life still matters, and it's never too late to walk away from a place that stopped feeling like home. Thank you.